Hey, everybody. Welcome to 2218's Attitude for Gratitude. This is Tad, and I'm here with my best friend,
Timmy J.
Hey, Tim, you got the vision statement?
I'm pulling it up now while you promote 2218. I'll pull it up.
Here at 2218, we are a nonprofit, and we are the world's oldest continuous running Elno Society. And, look, man, it's a charity. So if you want to help contribute, if you have some money to give to 2218, it's a good cause. Matt's going to post up the link. If you ever want to volunteer at the front desk, my name's Tad Ackerman, and you can call me or you can just show up, and we'll have applications for you. We got a great show tonight. We have Chelsea and Leon. They are our guests, but we have a special surprise guest that's going to be on. His name's Dan. Dan J. Say hi.
Hello, everyone.
He's a former president of 2218 and a current board member and a great mentor and friend of mine as well. And if you know him, you know him. He's all about recovery. This is exciting stuff. If you know Chelsea and Leon, you know they're all about doing recovery stuff too, like most of us are. So I'm pretty pumped. Tim, you got anything out? No, Tim.
You know what? I just want to say hi to everyone, and sorry about my absence last week, but I am back in full force. And I'm just trying to pull up this vision statement, and yeah, buckle up. You're in for a show tonight, I'll tell you what. And as Tad said, just going to touch on it, 2218 has been monumental in saving my life, so I like to push that envelope on letting everyone know what it's done for me. And as he was saying, this place you can come down here, you can fulfill community service hours, you can come volunteer your time. They could use any help whatsoever. Financially and in person. It's a great opportunity to get involved coming down to 2218. So we're going to get into a vision statement here pretty quick, but I need to know about your previous week, Tad. How did it go?
My week was pretty good. So I know I've just made some decisions in my life, that there were areas that I was slacking on, and I got to have a lot of good conversations with other men in recovery. Not just like the usual people I haven't talked to for a while. And a buddy of mine, Eric, who's going to be a guest, he basically was like, you can't live off something I've said before. You can't live off of yesterday's spiritual awakening. Like, it's not that, so you're slacking, but don't look at this as a failure. You've leveled up. What you were doing for so long is not working anymore. So it's time for you to take that next step up. And I have to have a better contact with my higher power. I have to, I'm at a point right now where there's so much stuff changing in my life, and I'm doing some new stuff, and I'm looking for what's next for me, that I need to be reaching out to 3 addicts.
Right.
And unrelated to club stuff, to work stuff. It's just, personally, I got to reach out to 3 other addicts a day, and it's something I need to be doing.
That's what works for you.
And it was a suggestion, so there are no dumb suggestions. I needed to sit down and do the third step prayer with my girlfriend at the end of every night, and me and her need to have talks about what's going on, because Tad was used to running his own show, and that got to such a point that I was operating on my will, and it's not like my life was in turmoil and I'm back on the streets, and it's not that drastic, but it is for me inside. And so I just needed to step my game up. And as we do often in life, because if I get complacent, then eventually it's never been good for me. So, just like us evolving on this show and trying to do new things and staying on the fly and being in the spirit of now, that's what I have to do with my life, too. I got to walk this shit that I talk.
Right.
And it's,
No, and that you make valid points with that too, on just for your personal growth and your own health. So, real quick before I tell you about my week, why don't you bump that off?
Hey, here at 2218, the Elno Society of Minneapolis, our vision is to be the premier Elno clubhouse serving the greater Twin Cities that offer support and strength to those suffering from addictions in their family. That's our vision statement here at the club. What do you got going on, Tim?
I've had a very very interesting week. Myself, I've had some personal growth. Some what do they say? Life shows up on life's terms, on its own terms. But for myself, I was able to grow through quite a few experiences in my personal life, and it all, I have to believe, will work out for the better. I'm switching jobs. There's something that happened at the previous job I was at. There, it was a great opportunity where I worked. I got a lot out of it. Sometimes you have to learn when it's time to just shake hands and part ways. Your feelings might not align with that, but as you were already saying, it's like I've been taught to reach out. We made these connections. I've made these connections in recovery, and I utilize these connections. So when there's something that happens in my life that I'm not 100% certain on, or it's trying or emotional, what I do is practice what I preach. I put it into action. I pick the phone up. I speak with other people in the program. With this specific situation, things were said, money's, whatever the case is, I reached out because I left to my own devices. I think I would have made poor choices when it came to my job. So I reached out to fellow addicts, connections that I made, fellow alcoholics, fellow people I've met in this last 4 years while working on myself. And I bounced some things off them, and I got great input. And I call people that will not co-sign my shit. I call people that will give me advice or suggestions, however you want to look at it. And at the end of the day, it's still up to me what choices I want to make. And I believe I made some good choices. And when one door closed, within a day, 2 doors opened. So I have to truly believe like my higher power had my back on this one. The connections I've made had my back on this one. And it's just great to be able to look back at it and know. Every week I sit during gratitude time at the end of the show and tell you guys how grateful I am for my family, my mother. I need to start adding my recovery community and the connections I've made because it's all those aspects that have gotten me through some of the toughest times in my life in this past 4 years. All right, it's enough out of me. With that said, Tad,
Let's chop it up.
let's chop it up.
Dan, I understand you have some stuff you have to talk about first, right? You want to get that out of the way?
As far as
You have some announcements or something from the board, or what?
Club announcements?
no, I was just reading some stuff that I can't share.
Oh,
but
okay. I thought you had stuff you wanted to share on the
We could
podcast.
really start promoting
Yeah.
Ride and all that stuff.
Yeah, you
Yep.
want to talk about the Ride
So,
for Recovery for a little bit?
I definitely can share a Ride for Recovery. We need people to step up and take the certified training for road guarding. We have probably 6 people right now, and we actually need 12 to 15 people. And
road
if
guards
people
this
want to,
year?
yes, if people would like to, take the certification course, that would be awesome. Get a hold of me. You can get a hold of Scott or Cheryl, and they will get you hooked up with some of the John Steffens also. So definitely reach out. There's many volunteer opportunities throughout the whole day of the event and leading up to the event. So definitely want to see people get involved. A little bit about 2218 and my history with it. I basically walked up the steps of 2218 in 1983, and my unknown at the time father-in-law reached out his hand and said, "Hi, I'm Lee. If you're looking for cash jobs, go in and see Dick Carlisle." And at that point, we were doing the roof on New Way right across the parking lot in 1983. And that was one of the first jobs I had up here. Just want to say that I've been a member of the club ever since. And I know a lot of people that have paid pledges and, have left the area but still continue to pay a pledge. And that's really important. We're really trying to get a pledge drive going, and we want to see people get involved and, become pledge paying members.
So Dan, aside from the fact that I personally know that pledging is your department on the board, what is a pledging member? How does one become a pledging member, and what's the deal with that? What does that even mean?
So if you look up the word pledge, look it up, please. And the thing is as far as the 2218, the pledge is basically each squad has a certain number of pledge paying members according to the rent of the room, and the pledge paying members should at least have 6 pledge paying members to offset the cost of the rent of the room. And then from there, you build. So right now, we have probably 105 pledge paying members. I'm not quoting that for sure, but at one point we used to have probably 1,200 pledge paying members. We really, are encouraging and wanting people to, become pledge paying members, pledge to whatever squad that you go to. And that pledge, a lot of people say, what do you get? And I've said this ever since I've started coming to this club, that what do I get? I get the doors to be open for the newcomer or the suffering addict and alcoholic. That's what I get. And I have an opportunity to be of service to people. And that is the most important thing. As long as we can keep these doors open, that is exactly what it's really about.
Right.
Other things that you get to, basically be a voter for the pledge or for the board. You can vote for whatever people that are running for the board. You can be a voter. A pledge paying member you have to be in order to vote for people to be on the board of trustees. And one of the other things that you get with the pledge is after a year of consistent pledge paying, you get a key fob. You can come in and work with, sponsees. And they also have a lot of other activities that, basically are giving us the opportunity to be of service. So, and that is, the ultimate lifesaver. I know for myself, I always say, take my number, and if you're having a hard time, pick up that phone. And I would say, just like it says in the book, we can't afford morbid reflection. This is the morbid reflection hotline, and I know it's the hardest thing to do is pick up and get out of that isolation, but do it. And the
I've
thing
had
is
tough
yep,
conversations with you. I've called you about to be done with it all a couple times.
yep.
And either he's talked me off the ledge, or maybe maybe like we don't have all the answers, but they help. Look, man, at the very least, I've been where you're at, and I know that it sucks. I know that it hurts, but look, if I can do it, you can do it, and I'm not gonna fix everything for you, Tad. But guess what? I'm gonna hold your hand, and I'm gonna be here if you need me.
Yep. And in the working with others, I mean, it says that we may give valuable advice, and it's valuable. There's a value in that advice. Yes. And people say, well, we don't give advice. Well, we do. It's hard to share your experience without giving advice. Mm-hmm. Our experience, strength, and hope is some of the best advice we can give anyone. And it's a basis of how I'm applying the principles in my life. Am I having a physical experience with honesty, hope, faith, courage, humility? Or am I having a physical experience with anger, depression, resentment, fear? Those are principles too. And I have a direct connect with those. And the honest truth is, the honesty, hope, faith, courage is a practice. I have to practice those to have a physical experience with them. And so today, I'm just very, very grateful. It's one day at a time, and I'll constantly say that. It doesn't matter. I celebrated 41 years of sobriety. I sobered up.
So real quick, Dan, with that, I want our audience to hear something that I have a question for you. Is 41 years. Is everything peachy and perfect, and your life is just, you're winning now that you've got 41 years? Or how does life look for you? Do you still deal with stuff?
Well, I've gone through 4 sisters, a mother and a father and a grandmother and uncles and aunts and godfathers and brother-in-laws, and all these people are deceased, and I stayed sober and supported and was there present to be in their lives. And the thing is this program has helped me really get connected, not just with family, but the family of people in this program. No, today, I just, was in love with a woman that I really wanted to live the rest of my life with. And she called it off right between Christmas and New Year's on Wednesday. And what did I do? I called people. I called my good friend Tom O, and he's been a very, very supportive and loving and honest person in my life, something that Tad was talking about. He's able to share things, and, Tom will tell me things that sometimes I don't want to hear, but I need to hear.
Right.
And there's some of that advice that is valuable.
It's honesty.
And yes, and I'm very, very grateful for that. I work with a lot of sponsees, and those connections save me from myself. I always say, if you call the Morbid Reflection Hotline, my phone, you're going to help me pull my head out of my you-know-what, and I'm going to try and help you. So I'm telling you, it helps me get out of myself. And that is the key component to all of this, is developing an honest concern for others. And I don't do that naturally because, you know what? I know I am one of those self-absorbed lots that the book talks about. And the thing is I'm telling you, it takes more practice to get out of self than anything else. So
Is that a huge, I think I heard you touch on it, but working with the newcomer, working with others, taking guys through the book, sponsoring, is this that one of those key aspects our predecessors came up with, which I say is wizardry, but that gets you outside of self.
yes,
And it's a key element to your 41 years, would you say?
absolutely. And the thing is nobody can have my experience. You have to have your own with the steps, the program of action. The prayers of action that are outlined in the 164 pages opens the doors to many more prayers and spiritual principles that will come into our life. And the thing is we won't intuitively know how to do those things. Honestly, the true portion of the 9th step promises is each and every step really has a promise. Right. And there's promises and prayers. And today, I know I wake up and all I have is today. There you go. And what I put into that, if I put my program, so a lot of people say, if I put my God of my understanding today into practice, is first really looking at On Awakening. Page 86, 87, and 88. I go back to 84 and I read through the 10th step. And I look at those principles, and it helps put my thoughts on a different plane. And sometimes my thoughts need to be on a plane.
Just not
right out of here.
Right.
So basically, I often tell a lot of guys I work with, you have to get out of the storytelling business. 95% of the things that I tell myself when I'm looking at addiction and the negativities in my life have a lot of power, And you know what? It wasn't the fact that I didn't have faith and belief. I had faith, deep faith and belief in my use, and I had deep faith and belief in shit that was killing me. And the honest truth is I had to learn how to really realign that. And that is where I started to practice these principles that were a gift to me. They're an absolute gift. So
Learning how to do that, there's so much. Go ahead, Ted. I know Ted's been. Yep. You go ahead, Ted.
We got him on here, and we're gonna go about 10 more minutes. So what's it? So I already set this up. You were a former president of 2218 on the board, and then you were away from the board for a little while.
yeah,
What's it been like to be back on the board?
it's the challenges definitely are probably greater, but definitely with the people that are on the board currently, really all have one great purpose, and that is to really the preservation of the club and keeping the doors open. And the alignment of everyone really focusing on that has been absolutely probably one of my best experiences of being on the board. I think in times that have been the hardest, especially through COVID, you know, the honest truth is we don't make we don't have the resources and money to do the things that we did many years ago, but I'm telling you, it's put to a use that is so much greater. I've never seen anything like it.
Has it been hard coming back and being a supporting role and not being the president and not, supporting, mentoring? Has that been hard for you?
No, I've kind of done that all along. Even before I actually was on the board, I was always, basically volunteering for things that, help promote and really, and I guess I don't want to say promote. I want to say more strongly attraction. The program of attraction and true sponsorship is through attraction. True sponsorship and helping people really get connected to a free way of life. So I look at the 12 steps and the 12 traditions as a way of life. And the attraction of that and working with others is what builds that base. And the thing that we get is, not only sobriety, but we get to have fellowship, joy, fun. I mean, we're doing everything. I've done more in my sobriety than I ever did when I used. And I used to think, I'm not going to be able to do that anymore. You know what? I get to do more. And you know what? The best part is I remember it.
I always think that when people say that. I got one more question that's kind of a double. So, the board's split pretty even right now as far as you and the guys that have been around for a while, and then us 1, 2, 3 years, me, Emily, Mandy, Matt, us newer generation. What is it like working with the next generation here at 2218 and / mentoring guys like myself and whatnot? What's that like for you?
You know what? I never used to look for relief, but I'm telling you, it is relieving to know that there are people, and especially, and I'm not saying young in age, I'm saying young in recovery, that are getting involved. And the thing is that is the most wonderful thing, to work with these people and to really see what they're taking to the next level. And they contribute so much and more than a lot of some of the old timers that have really, kind of fizzled out that energy. I love that new energy. I encourage it. I know I have a very high energy, and I'm just so excited to really engage in that, and they help give me that energy.
So normally, before I tell a personal story about me and someone, I ask permission, but it's you, so I'm probably just going to tell it. Everyone else, I ask for permission, but I know that. So our relationship, when I came back from relapsing after I was here for a while, you were the first individual to approach me. And, you offered, I didn't decide to have you as a sponsor. I sent my best friend to you at the time. But you said, look, I'm here. Even if you don't want me to be your sponsor, this is the meeting. This is my schedule. Come find me if you need anything. And fast forward to when I've talked about it before, but I had to take a personal leave because there was a lot going on at the club and a lot going on with me, and I had to step down. And one of the people who encouraged me to come back was you. And you and I had a yelling altercation. We weren't going to fight or anything, but we had an intense, Dan and I we're similar. We're intense guys. And we had a conversation. I was mad about something that was irrelevant to what I was actually mad. And you said to me, hey, it's okay. We get to be mad. And I'm here now, and I'm going to be around. And you remember what I'm talking about?
Yep.
And you've been here. You've been here since then. You've really you've shown me that consistency. And I went on to be president of Squad Council. and go to the board on your advice. On your advice, I got back in, and you know, so just that. Not that you have a direct impact on me, not that it's like you're responsible for my trajectory, but you've definitely been an inspiration to me and a mentor at times. And it's, when I have had I've had to call on you as a board member, as a guy doing security. I've had to call on you and be like, dude, I don't know what to do. So is that cool to like watch people like me grow into like you're one of the reasons I'm on the board, which is one of the reasons I have this podcast, which is one of the reasons we fought to get NA here on New Year's. This is all cool new stuff that we would have never thought happening. Is that like just the fact that you've been a part of that? Is that really cool for you, or what do you think about that?
It's life. It is. It's life. And the thing is no matter how simple and meek a person is, everyone has something of self-worth. And the thing is I've learned to really participate and be open-armed, and also to try and be a voice of reason. And the thing is when we're angry, we very seldom have any success in addressing the real issue. And a lot of times is what I shared with you at that time was you were angry, but it wasn't really the core root of what you were angry about. And as you started to share and open up, then it started to come out, and then it's like, oh, and then you discovered what it really was. Right. And the thing is it takes a little bit, but that's the purpose of the fifth step, is to learn to tell on ourselves and to really start voicing things so we can hear ourselves. Because when I'm turning it over in my head, the bottom line is I got to get it out. And I need to learn to tell on myself, and I have to continue to converse with people, even if they don't have the opportunity to give me any kind of suggestion or answer. The honest truth is, I just need to hear myself, and that's how our Creator works in us and through us.
And I'll just let everyone listening to this know, not to get into any details, but Dan and I have been opposite sides of arguments, and he's one of the people who taught me how to, not arguments, issues. He's one of the people that taught me how to have a conversation without it being an argument. And what I've talked about on the show the last couple episodes, my thoughts with Tad, final thoughts with Tad about you don't have to be enemies with someone because we don't. Dan likes yellow, I like blue. We don't have to fight. I don't have to bad talk Dan. I don't have to have any. I love Dan just because he likes yellow. And I'm a blue guy. We don't have to be
purple. I love purple.
So he loves purple and I love orange. And that doesn't have to define our relationship, the fact that we like two different things and disagree about it. And Dan kind of taught me that. And now he also taught me one other thing, and I'll get your thoughts on this right before we go, is you taught me that I can still be passionate, but I don't have to fight. I don't have to fight because I was a fighter. I came in here arguing and yelling and fighting about everything because that's what I knew. I can still be passionate about things, and I don't have to turn everything into a fight. You got thoughts on that?
It's, something that definitely has to be a part of the practice. Humility is an action. Gratitude is an action. You think about, humility actually is one of the only steps. Some people say it's kind of out of place, but the honest truth is it's exactly where it needs to be. But without humility, we couldn't come to admission. So right. Humility is worked in every one of the steps. And the honest truth is if we look at cease fighting and you take a look at working with others, and in there it says if your prospect doesn't accept what you have to offer, let them go. And the thing is that does that mean you fire them? No, it ain't about sponsor relationship at all. It's talking about here is a person that may be a prospect because of their addiction. And if they're not accepting what you have to offer, this Course in Miracles, then you just let them go. And honestly, the truth is you cannot save anyone from themselves. So we have an opportunity to present something to them, and hopefully they'll pick it up, and then they'll go and have their experiences with it. And that's something my sponsor has always told me. You can't have my experience. You have to have your own with this Course in Action. And so with Tad and what you're doing today, you're progressing in your life as I am. I'm still progressing. And the thing is the gift that we get from learning to really pause when agitated, to look at that practice. And the 11th step is the daily reprieve, one day at a time step. And the thing is when you look at that and you see how the actions are in there, it's a fluid motion of all the principles right there in that step. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 is today. 10 is today. This is all we have right now. In step 11, we pray and meditate on that process of the fluid motion. And we're going to interconnect with those the rest of our life as long as we put it into practice. And can you do it all the time? Absolutely, I do. You can do it all the time. And the honest truth is if I'm angry with anyone or anything, I'm not going to be successful in carrying a message. Because where animosity exists, spirituality will cease to exist. I cannot have animosity in any of that. So I've learned that. And that's what I carry today.
Thank you so much for coming by, Dan. This has been great. This was a welcome surprise. I didn't know that Dan was coming by tonight. And all our board members have open invitations to come on the show. Hey, Chelsea and Leon, how you guys doing?
What's up? Hey, guys.
Did you guys bring topics for tonight?
Kind of. Not really. Gonna just wing it.
I wanted to thank Dan once on there real quick.
Here,
too.
go ahead.
No, you're saying. So, Dan, I wanted to also thank you for coming on and sharing the experience that you've shared with us. You always speak from the heart. It's a pleasure and a joy anytime I see you. If anyone knows Dan, you know you're in for a great, huge, big bear hug. No matter time, day, night, morning, time of year, usually your feet are getting lifted off the ground with some real love. Dan exudes recovery. He is what recovery is. And I love you, dude. Thank you so much for being on this show and sharing what you've shared.
The fact that you still care and put in the work after 41 years is amazing. I hope I can care half as much as you do.
100%. Just I want to thank you from the heart. You save lives, and I look up to you. You are my predecessor, and thank you, Dan.
Thank you so much for having me on. I really do love you guys, man. I'm going to cry. I love it. Let's carry this.
I thought I was special, man. He always picked me up since day one.
You talking about that? You thought you were special?
I thought I was the only one he picked up.
Leon.
It feels like I'm the only one he ever picks up whenever he does it. You know?
Maybe that's what matters.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like I've been running into you guys this week a lot.
A little bit more than usual lately. It's
Heck
good.
yeah, it's good.
God's timing. It works out.
Well, it's cold up north, so we don't really go to the North Shore a lot when it's like negatives.
I made Mandy go camping with me like the last weekend before Halloween, up by Fergus Falls, up in that area.
It was chilly, I bet.
Yeah, we brought a heater. She brought a heater.
Oh, good.
That's one of those ceramic heaters. It
So,
was still cold.
so you went glamping.
In a tent with a heater,
Well, yeah, if you had electricity.
and we watched movies at night. on my phone.
Fabulous. Glamping.
Yeah.
Fabulous. That's one of the best ways to go camping.
It was half roughing it
Yeah.
because we were still in a tent and it was still cold.
Hi, Morgan.
Hey, Elena, before
What?
we get into talking with Chelsea and Leon, do you no? None of you guys have segments today?
No,
Okay,
we just
Tim
did-
does.
we
We'll
just
do
did a
that
half-
at
We
11.
just did 35 minutes of stuff.
Yep. Okay, no worries. I was just checking. Leon, did you bring your own segment?
Literally.
Like Tim tells jokes. Tim tells jokes.
Yeah, you can.
Elena does self-care.
I don't know if I got any good jokes lately.
You don't got any good jokes? No worries. So what do you guys want to chat about?
Well, I mean, recently I've been laid off.
Big book thumper.
And in my line of work, I'm pouring concrete outside. So when the winter months come, if I'm good enough on my seniority list, I'll get paid like $500 a week to do whatever I want. In the past, I used it to drink every day. And it was my excuse, you guys are paying me, so I just can't leave the house. I'll just sit here and get drunk. I ain't breaking the law. I ain't hurting nobody, But what Dan was touching on, man, Now I have an opportunity to like do something with my life, and that's like going to morning meetings at the Blaine Illinois at 10. Speaking up at Grace Counseling there in East Bethel at 10 o'clock in the morning, Tuesdays and Thursdays, a little plug. And the noon meeting over at Fridley, they got one there every day too. So I've been bouncing around up there, meeting new people, people without no jobs, people fresh out of treatment. I have no idea.
It's good for your soul.
Oh my God. And like for me, I go to a certain amount of meetings where suddenly, and Facebook, you know, that whole reputation, people kind of already assume they know what they're going to get when they meet me.
Right.
So when I'm meeting strangers, that anonymity comes back. And
I felt like I knew you for a long while when we first met at the chili cook-off like 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh yeah.
But you know that those couple encounters with you, and from everything I've seen on Facebook and your recovery life, like if those who don't know you. You have a social media presence that's built on recovery. You do a middle finger Monday thing. That's your own thing. And there's various opinions, whatever. That's his own thing. We're not here to talk about any of that. We're here to talk about the fact that you have built a recovery network on Facebook and social media and used it for positive. And, you know, that's how I knew you. And, you know, things like that. My story is not unique in your situation.
Right.
A guy who's in recovery and goes out and relapse and reaches out to you when he gets back into treatment. I'm sure that happened more than just to me because I've seen it.
Right.
I mean, you know, so, and it's been, what you do more than anything is bring people together. I've heard you talk about it. And what's that like?
It's unreal. My ego will start telling me that I'm the shit and like I'm popular and all these like in a bad way. Like I'm not used to being popular in a good way, and I really have a tough time balancing that thought. Like we got this sober bowling up at Blaine Brook Thursday nights, and like around 9 o'clock we can get up there. Bowling's like $3 a game, free shoe rentals, so like anybody can afford it, you know. And if you can't,
Someone's going to
somebody
pay
will
for
spot
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we've had like 100, 150 people show up, and I'll be like, I have relationships with people, with every individual person, and I love it, you know. As much as I hate people, I like some people, you know, and it means something to me, you know. I don't just want to like be your friend for some bullshit clout. You
Yeah.
know, to have this many friends.
If there's a lot of people up there, you're not going to get FaceTime with Leon.
Oh,
I,
no.
I usually end up talking to Chelsea somewhere for 5-10 minutes while trying to talk to Leon. So, you know, at this point,
I'm a good second.
no, you're a better first choice. I was just going to say at this point, Chelsea's my friend and Leon's her boyfriend. So,
So it's tricky with like I love getting people together. I love being able to like have a voice and like be my own person and have so many people accept me, because like I still struggle with that, believe it or not. And
we all do.
I
Man.
want to sit down and talk with everybody that makes time for me. You know, they come up and smile and like those hugs, and it's like I don't want to just walk by like, hey man, good to see you later. So it's really tricky. I don't know. I'm handling it better than I ever have. You know, it is a daily thing where I just got to try better than yesterday. But it's weird, man. It's weird when a lot of people know you when they haven't seen you, and I post so much bullshit on Facebook. Oh, hey Leon, hey Chelsea. Chelsea's like, who is that? I was
Well-
like, oh no, that's dude's sister's boyfriend's neighbor, you know?
And that's the other thing I was gonna kind of just add to the mix is like my version of, you know, like his influence using social media, like you said, Tad, for good. Because in the beginning of our relationship, I was quick to be insecure, to be judgy, to not be okay with, like, why do you have to comment on everything and respond to every comment? And, like, why are there 19 females in it? But, like, you know, like, it was just natural insecurities. And I'm not a social media person personally. So I had a hard time with it at first. And I was closed-minded to the idea of the relationship that he had with all these people and like the image that he had on Facebook. And so I struggled with it at first. And then I decided, I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to just let him be him because I don't want to change him. And if he's meant to be part of my journey and you know, if we're meant to have a relationship, then I'm going to let him stay who he is, right? I'm not going to change him. So in that process of letting him be Leon, I started to realize and gain some insight on these relationships and how many people he's inspired and how many lives he's changed, and the accessibility that people have to him because of the way social media works. And lately, especially, like you said, I mean, people have just been blowing up in his DMs, like people that need help, people that need to go to treatment, people that no, it'll be like so and so's moms, sisters, nephews, whatever. You remember that one time I told you about that one girl and it's like, no, I don't fucking remember. Like you've helped and touched so
How
many
do you
hundreds
remember
of people's
that?
lives. But it is a tool that works for Leon. And like I said, I started to let go of some of that closed-minded crap that I was holding on to. And now I'm proud of him for what he does on Facebook. And it's inspiring and it's amazing to just get to sit back and watch, and I don't have to comment on everything. Because I used to try to keep up with it. He
how was
posts so many
that?
pictures of me, and people would comment, and people would be so.
my gosh.
People started caring about me and saying stuff to me that I'd had never met before. But these people genuinely care about me because he saved their kid's life. You know what I mean? And so then I would used to try to keep up with it all the time, and that stressed me out because then there I was trying to be somebody that I wasn't. So I get away from the fact that I was trying to change Leon before. Now here I am trying to change myself in order to fit the mold, right? So then I had to let go of that and just be myself. And so now Leon is Mr. Leon on Facebook and all that shit that he does. And I almost deleted my Facebook about this time last year, I think it was. And then there was this big panic of like, oh my God, you're going to lose all your pictures forever and you're never going to get them back and it's just going to be terrible. So like the fear overcame me, and fear is my biggest character defect, guys, like through and through. And so
That stopped me
the
from
deletion
deleting
of
my
the Facebook
Facebook, like,
didn't
3
happen.
times.
But so I get tagged and everything, and I get to see. I appreciate it today. You know, it's like a catalog of our journey. And for those of you that follow Leon on Facebook, every single time there is a post with a location, you can click on that location, and it'll take you to a map and a GPS and all the things that you need to know about that location. So you don't need to personally message him and ask him where that place is. And you don't need to comment and ask him where the place is either, I promise you. There is a link with the location. But that's just a heads up. But that's because some people are better at utilizing that tool than others, right? So we can practice some acceptance that some people are better at Facebook than others, right? Because I'm telling you, I don't even know how to do a story on Facebook, okay? And my significant other is like the king of Facebook. So that's just, you know, my version of the
King
story
Leon.
versus his
King
version of the
Leonidas.
story. So it's a different experience for both of us, but it's benefited both of us, I think, and impacted a lot of other people in recovery. So
Oh my gosh.
kudos to you, babe, with your recovery stuff on Facebook. You did
I
good.
just
Thanks
want to
for sharing
jump in
that.
real quick. And Leon and Chelsea, you are Mary and I 35, 40 years ago. And the thing is Leon, I've always seen that energy. People would always say, where do you get your energy? Well, on page 87, I don't waste my energy foolishly.
Right.
Or page 88. And it's like, I don't burn it up with thoughts in my head. But you guys are really, it's exactly. Mary struggled with all the contacts that I had. She was like, so we started having theme parties at our house.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of things happen, but it's the gift, and thank you.
I love that.
Thank you.
I love every one of you guys. Thank you for being here.
Love you, man.
Thanks, Dan.
That's a huge compliment.
Heck yeah.
To be recognized. I mean, I'm not doing this for anybody but myself. And like, I wanted to say too, I post on Facebook all my locations and everywhere we go, because it's my diary. It's my public journal. Like if I get confused or like where were we, you know, at that one time, I could just look it up in the search bar and it'll take me back. I mean, I appreciate the likes and the comments, but like to be able to show my friends like this is only 2 hours from where you live. Like this is right around the street, and then their tacos are bomb as fuck. Like I want to help people get out of their shell, and like this is what you can do with your life when you're sitting there like. You know how much downtime I had in early recovery where I wish I had a car, where I wish I had my driver's license, where I wish I had just one fucking friend that would want to hang out with me. And I live for that, you know. I hope to reach someone that's looking forward to their life, not knowing what to do. And it's been working. I've been taking a bunch of new guys to new meetings, and it's just been so much fun. So is this here every day? How often do you go? And what other meetings do you go to? Do you know anybody in Minneapolis? And I get to link people to all my other friends.
Right.
And what blows my mind is like when I close my eyes when I'm at home, like all my friends hang out with each other. And then when I go to these certain rooms, I don't know if it's Otsego, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Chisago, Isani, Blaine, Fridley, wherever. None of my friends really know each other like some do. But I'm like, man, I could really link all these people together, you know? If they like my goofy ass, you know, if they can all tolerate me, then that's a good something in common right there for you two to be friends. And it's been beautiful watching God work through me, you know, because that's what I was touching on earlier. As much as I think it is me, I'm just trying. I'm putting in effort. It's vulnerable, you know. I could get really disappointed if nobody shows up. Like we started that bowling thing at Blainbrook like 8 years ago, and the old timers at a club was telling me not to do it. Don't be taking people to the bar. And it was just me and two other dudes that ain't even around no more. And I told them, man, this is a good idea. It's cheap. It ain't cribbage. It ain't Perkins again.
Perkins again.
Let's try, you know. And it blew up just from just trying. The only way I could fail. And I learned in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous is if I don't try. You know, that's all I got to do. Yep. If I put an effort in there with my actions, then some higher power is going to do its little thing, and all this shit is going to come through better than my imagination. You know, his plans are better than my fucking dreams. And I love seeing that. You know, I hope I inspire somebody every day. And it really helps me remember like what I'm doing with my life, you know.
The middle finger of love.
Yeah, and then there's that middle finger.
I mean,
That's
so-
why
like
God.
Mondays.
That's why God gave you me to balance it out with the peace sign.
I love that. We have a comment from a mutual friend of ours, and you know he just wanted to let you know that he loves trolling you on Facebook, and he thinks that's his purpose. So you've given purpose to people.
Right, even a turd burglar like Matt Krabs, that's cool. If he can wake
I
up
love
and
you,
give
Matt.
me shit on my Facebook, I love it. I love it. And he's an intelligent guy too.
Oh, he's so smart,
it ain't
dude.
like a normal. It's a good witty jab usually.
Most of the time, me and Matt are on about the same side of an issue. But most of the time, we land pretty similarly.
Yeah.
It's just how we portray that is a little different in style. But me and Matt are very similar guys. And
Yeah, you annoyed me when I first met you too. Yeah.
see, we're greatness. You're jealous of both of us.
Right.
But aside from that, I love having a good old-fashioned debate with Matt Krebs.
Yes.
Just a debate, like where, you know, I like that. I don't know. I like to debate him for some reason because he comes with it.
He's got a different perspective and he stands on what he believes.
Well, and he challenges you.
Yep. You just ain't gonna start making fun of somebody. Like you'll get in a conversation and he'll make you think. Like, where am I? What am I talking about? Do I know where I'm coming from? Yeah, those are good. Let's debate on air.
Well, next time you're on here, we'll have to. You know,
Yeah, we love fights.
my favorite Matt story was I was shoveling the sidewalk, and he said some smart shit to me, and I grabbed the shovel, and he's like, "I dare you to, or I bet you won't," or what. So I threw snow at him, and he's like, "You know what?" He basically was like, "You're lucky I'm in a good mood," and gave me a hug. It went down something similar to that. But, you know, someone else says in ways I've seriously never expressed, Leon has helped me through a lot of hard shit. Some of the advice I've heard from him, I still use in my day-to-day life.
I love that.
So, you know, I know my significant other had expressed to me that she had a real talk with you at the bowling alley once, and you guys didn't really know each other from Adam, and it meant a lot to her. It helped her, and you know, all I have to say is, how come when you were my sponsor, I didn't get any of this advice? where the fuck? I'm just messing with you, dude.
You were doing good. You made it through.
You screamed at me for talking to girls. That was about it.
It's always an important lesson.
No, I love you, bro.
Christine, was that blizzard? I remember I was at a Minac or a Gopher State or something, and like there was this huge blizzard, and I drove a bunch of people home. Where a bunch of my
always
friends
good.
were like, "Don't drive, man. The airport shut down, and all the hotels in the area were booked."
Well, that wasn't a Gopher State.
Minac 2019.
It was it that one?
Well, that's what her comment says.
Right.
Well,
I'm trying to verify.
I remember Gopher State when I met you guys. Well, I knew Leon.
Yeah.
But I remember that.
I wasn't here for Minac in 2019. I don't think I was still in Texas.
That was the blizzard. Yeah.
I was
Bunch of
still in
people thought I
treatment.
was nuts. That was with my Charger. That was rear wheel drive in a blizzard.
I was still in
That's fun.
treatment the April Gopher State when I went up there, and you gave me a ride home so I could make it the late curfew.
Dig the car out.
Oh yeah.
Oh
The
man.
thing is there's no cars on the road.
That's what I
Right.
thought. That's exactly my train of thought. There ain't nobody in our way. We'll just
What,
be able to go.
What do the ladies got going on over here? Mandy and Elena.
Hi, everyone. Leon, do you remember our conversation at the bowling alley? I bet. What? You don't remember? No, I'm just kidding. No, I was new in recovery, and I had just started going to sober bowling, and of course, I'm stressing out on trying to figure out myself, and then I was going through a really difficult situation with a guy, like super toxic. And I remember, and I don't even know how we started talking, to be honest. And you just sat down with me for like 30 minutes, and you were talking about how you had this terrible relationship. And when you finally ended it, this amazing woman walked into your life. And once you let go of things that aren't for you, that the right things come for you. And it was just amazing. And I still remember that conversation. It was
I do.
fantastic.
I remember that. That was, and I really I don't know, something draws me these days, like vibes. I'm really, really spiritual, and I don't know, I can't even put my finger on it. And I know, like, when my time is good, you know, when I'm good to just invest some time with somebody, just from the feeling I got. I mean, you're a sweet girl, but like, I don't know, I felt you, you know, and I got experiences doing a lot of shit, you know, so I definitely got my opinions and my advice. But I was feeling real good because, yeah, that Chelsea thing come out of nowhere for me. And it was the classic, let go, let God, stop trying to push your will. And, like, you know, when somebody in a relationship's doing something to you that, like, my buddy wouldn't do, why am I letting this skate, you know?
Right. Take your own advice for a change.
And my biggest thing, you know, treat them all like relationships. Don't try to put one up on a pedestal and think that one's any different than the others. They're all relationships based on honesty, trust, and forgiveness. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic, and I like that you the vibe piece of it. It's like the good vibes, you know. And a lot of times I'll call it my spidey senses.
Right.
And I think recovery helps with kind of recognizing who are your people and who are not. Doesn't mean that they're better people or worse people. You just know which ones are for and which ones are not for you, right?
If somebody wastes my time for 10 minutes, 8 of those minutes are my fault.
I
There
like
you
that.
go.
You
I
know,
like that.
I can walk away. I can be like, hey, I'm talking to a wall, you know. I should get out of this conversation because it is about me. I need to recover, you know. Yeah, I can get railroaded into conversations, being a people pleaser. I'll do anything for you, you know, if I ain't taking care of myself.
Right.
I think you mentioned that a few times now about I do this for myself, but I think when Dan was on, and I also said, like, in retrospect, while we're doing this for ourselves, helping people, Chelsea hinted to it, and you've talked about it, like just to explain to someone, basically get outside yourself, go have an experience, and have your own experience while having these conversations for your own recovery. It does help others. You're helping others, in return helping yourself. Now, I know Chelsea had a whole list of things she wanted to talk about, but feels someone might have already touched on them. But I want you to still touch on some of those things you have written down because we all have our own perspectives on things.
I mean, yeah, really the whole theme of what I wanted to bring up tonight, I think, is really just working with others. mainly.
And I think we talked a lot about that.
And
so
we
I
did,
want your
and
take on
I
it.
mean, it's working with others. I mean, it's kind of the whole, like what Dan came to is it's kind of like the whole consumption of all the steps after you work them all and get spiritually fit and get some understanding of how this works, and then we just get to continue to practice those principles that we learn from those and apply them, right?
Right.
Over and over and over again with the program of action. And the word ego has been brought up, fear has been brought up. So I know for me, when things like ego and fear get in the way of me practicing those principles, right? Usually the best thing for me to do is find some action to
Action.
get out of myself, right? So the same thing like what's been said. And I think the big thing too, I mean, since Leon and I are on together tonight, the whole concept of how we work with others and like what Timmy was saying is like how we all have different approaches. We all have different perspectives. We all learn in different ways. And it's kind of funny because like Leon and I are so different when it comes to this.
Yeah.
And it's great that God somehow like provided this balance because like between the two of us, like, you know, I am like, I'm a big book thumper, like to the max. Like I'm all about step work. I'm all about sponsorship. I'm all about like, you know, a little like commitments and home group and like all that stuff. And I have never seen anybody so deep in the trenches on a continuing basis like I see Leon. He has like some bravery, drive. I don't know what it is, but I'm always like, how does he always know what to say? And I don't know if you think that you don't always know what to say, right? Like I get it, but it appears as though you always know what to say. It doesn't matter what kind of bum off the street, crazy drunk at the bar, some
With a knife.
nice old lady that dropped her shit at the supermarket, or I mean, it doesn't matter what kind of person from all walks of life walks up to you and you know what to fucking say. Like God gave you a gift of like one-on-one connecting with people when you have no resources, when you have you have nothing but you and God, and that works for you.
He has that way of making you feel like you're the most important person, even in a room of 100 people that he's just talking with you. And
Exactly.
he has
Right?
that.
And then there's me, and I need my books, and I need my highlighters, and I need my music, and my essential oils, and my comfy basement, and my lights to make the girls feel fucking spiritual so they want to come over and get connected to God. Right? And so, like, we have different ways that we approach this, but ultimately, that's what we're trying to get at is like, we have a great life today because we tapped into this something bigger that now gives us power to live a free life. The other night at bowling, a girl, so God's been putting this girl in my life lately, and she just keeps popping up, and she asked me to sponsor her, and I said yes, and I did what I do, and I'm like, let's get together, let's talk about what that means, like see if you can commit, and yada, yada, yada. Well, it never really happened. She's working with another sponsor. She just likes what I have, and so it's fine. So we just keep running into each other, and she keeps checking in and letting me know how she's doing, and that's fine. And the other night I was bowling. I guess this was last week, not last night. And I was, guys, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I think I had the best time at bowling that I've ever had last week. Leon was like deep in some 12-step work, like deep. And I got a free pass. For whatever reason, he didn't need me as a sidekick that night. He didn't need any female help and that's one thing that God puts us together, right? Like I'm a female and he's a male. And so we can safely go on a lot of 12-step calls together and have both perspectives. And we trust each other to be able to do that. So he's deep doing his 12-step work and he gives me a free pass for the night to just have some fun, right? And I'm bowling and I'm dancing and I'm having a freaking grand old time. And this girl's bowling on the lane next to us. So of course there's like plexiglass between us because that,
Stops everything.
right. The plexiglass just creates this like illusion that there's a barrier between us. And it's kind of funny because it sort of like adds to the story, right? So she's there and I can see her and she can see me, but there's like this there's this like barrier between us. And I'm dancing and I'm bowling, and I don't know if I was bowling well or not. I was just having a great freaking night. And she like looks over at me, and like I like go up to bowl, and she's kind of waiting for an opportunity to say something to me, and she has to wait for me to like come back from when I'm bowling because there's the plexiglass, right? So she's like gets her opportunity to like come talk to me, and she comes up, and I'm walking back, and she goes, "You're so free." And that it like she just completely disarmed me, and I almost cried like right then. But she was like, "You're just so free. I want that," And she's like, "I don't know what it is, but like this aura that you have, like the freedom, it's so desirable. That's what I want." And she just said it out loud, and it was just simple words, but that's this whole thing. Like that's the whole concept of what I think my purpose in life is today, is to carry this message and help other people be free. Because that's what I am today, is free. So it was just a really cool thing. And all of that happened because of fellowship, and because, we connect and we have a place to go where we can be together. And like, I wouldn't normally run into her, but she's starting to learn where I go, and she's starting to learn what meetings I go to, and she started to learn that she can ask me for advice on where to go for a meeting. And so I run into her all the time.
Well, and sometimes we learn, like in early recovery, I didn't, I've shared this before. We were told, you stick with the winners. In early recovery, my head was still pretty sick. I didn't know what a winner looked like. So I would emulate what I thought one was. And Dan touched on, and we had someone named Ken R on our show who really, really advocated what I'm about to say is, you've got to have your own experience eventually. Yeah. You're not, for me, I'm saying on day 2, day 20, day 30, I wasn't going to make my own experience. For me, I had to do whatever I could to stay clean or not pick up anymore. But like what you're sharing is, this girl might be newer, and it reminds me of me. It's like I saw these people happy, joyous, and free, and I wanted that. I didn't know how to obtain it in early recovery, so I gravitated to those people, the Leons, the Chelseas, the Dan Joneses. I would latch on. I had Bob S. in my life, and I still latch on. Yeah. But over time, you do end up having your own experience. You need to figure out who you are. But until then, you find what works. And like what you're sharing with this girl, it's like, yeah, she saw your aura, and it just made me laugh because you're like, now she's finding out where I'm going, like stalking, but it's working. But in return, look at what it's doing for you.
Rah rah. Program of attraction.
One thing I would just say to anyone listening, or to everyone, period, try new things when you get in recovery. I'm going to share a story where I made fun of Leon. And, well, so Leon's running around, and he's taking selfies, and I took a shot at him for whatever. That's what me and Leon do. And it was a shot at him and both Keith Campbell. They were standing, like, whatever, and they were both like, have you
That's
ever
a valid
tried?
shot to take.
What? And I was just making fun of them for taking selfies, and they're like, have you ever tried taking selfies at these events when you see all your friends? Have you ever tried it? Nope. No, I have not. So how do you know this isn't? So I did. At the baseball game and the walk for recovery. And I didn't take 100. I took 30 selfies at both events, and I had a freaking blast.
30.
30 with friends. I seen, I'd run into you. Boom, selfie. Ran into another friend. Boom, selfie. Old counselor from when I was 18. Yeah, I'll take a selfie. Boom, selfie. A speaker at treatment center. And I had a blast. And it taught me something pretty important that and I forget this sometimes, because as we do, we move into different places and we forget the valuable lessons that we learned early in our life or in early recovery, is that I have to be open to new experiences. And I have to try things, and I should never criticize Leon's. That's what Leon does. That's his thing. Doesn't matter if I don't, and I sit on my pedestal and talk about this a lot. And it's real easy to sit here and say it, but then not live it. Look, man, Leon's a nerd for rocks and taking selfies. That's him. I'm a nerd for superheroes and video games. And wrestlers aren't superheroes.
sports.
But anyways, so at any rate, I have my own things, and it's not for me to judge Leon. And you know what? if I'm so jealous or insecure about it, maybe I should try it and see if I like it. And if I don't, move on. And maybe I'm missing out on my hobby. You know, maybe I would. Obviously, I'm not going to be the great selfie taker. My lackluster selfie skills have been where I'm at has been helped by Leon because you know at one point I'm the guy that I've been told I take the worst pictures on the planet. So.
I can verify that. I can verify that.
I'm glad that. Right, I'm glad that everyone has an opinion on that. Do we want to get into a segment quick?
Yeah, it can be quick.
Okay, let's go. Let's do tidbits. Is it time? Hey, now it's time in the show. You know that special time on everyone's Friday nights, where we take it down a notch, get serious and silly at the same time.
Oh.
Everybody, let's welcome the incomparable Timothy J. Warren for tidbits with Timmy.
Yeah.
Did you say incomparable?
Yeah.
We're gonna start with I had a doctor's appointment earlier this week, and my doctor told me I'm going deaf. The news was hard for me to hear. Oh, guys, catch up. Dan got it. So, a couple cows, they were smoking weed and playing poker. The stakes were high.
Oh my gosh.
I was saving that one to tell someone.
The stakes were high. I'll end with one more very dirty, gross one. So this week, all I want to touch on is what I kind of opened the show with is making some life-altering decisions. For me, I'm able to share with our audience and whoever's listening is that I've made these connections over the past 4 years, and now I utilize them. I strongly suggest anyone who questions a decision that they're going to make that could be life-altering or just anything you're questioning yourself on, just reach out to the connections you've made, to the people you trust in your life if you're not sure. Sure, we need to have our own experiences, but you can responsibly gather information from people you respect and you see are working at some type of program and they're happy, joyous, and free. The stuff pays off at the end. You can walk away with your head high knowing you made the right choice, and nothing's really permanent. You could you shut one door, another opens, but you can always try to reopen a door if you need. We live this life of a second chance now and these opportunities we've been given, so take advantage. Dan said, like, we wake up and today is what we have. Yesterday does not define you, and tomorrow's not promised. So live today to its fullest. Because diarrhea is hereditary. It runs in your genes.
Oh my God. Hey,
And that was
no, not yet. Not yet, because I only get to tell jokes on tidbits with Timmy, so we're not done yet. AA is like an adjustable wrench. It fits every nut. I got that site that I've been going off with all these AA jokes. This is the very last joke, so I'm gonna have to find some new material. This is another long one like the one last week. 2 AAs are talking about what is going to happen to them after they die. One believes in heaven, the other's not so sure. They agree on a pact. The first one to die will come back as a ghost on the anniversary of their death and appear in front of the surviving one to prove whether or not there's an afterlife. A few years pass, and the first AA dies sober. A year later, the surviving member is sitting in a meeting, and he feels a coldness in the air. He looks around, and sat next to him is the ghost of his old pal. He's holding a harp, wearing a gold halo, and has a couple white feathers wings on his back. The ghost turns to his pal and says, "I've got some good news and some bad news. The good news is there is a heaven. Bill and Bob are up here, and they have AA meetings every week. You'll love it. The bad news is you're sharing next Tuesday." You got one more? Tim's got one more joke.
This one is about marriage. I think that it's
Yeah, skip it. What?
So
Or tell it, and then we'll end it.
I asked my wife if I was the only one she'd ever been with, and she said yes. I've been with tons of 9s and 10s though.
I've heard that. I love that.
I liked it.
I'm on those dad joke sites. That's where I used to get my material. And this has been Tidbits with Timmy. Well, thanks for that, Timmy. What do we got going on now, guys?
You should get some of that stuff on the grapevine.
Yeah, they got jokes on the back pages.
Well, you need to add some.
We'll put it on the list.
There are there was a good one about the bar is I live 5 minutes from the bar, and this was out of that. I live 5 minutes from the bar. It took me 5 minutes to walk to the bar.
Good
45
God.
minutes walking home. It was quite staggering. Oh my God. Kind of grapevine jokes in
Yeah,
there, like,
yeah.
Aliens crash landed over by my house a couple years back, and
Oh yeah.
the one drunk alien comes walking out and he said, "Take me to your leacher."
Oh my gosh. Womp womp womp.
I think Chelsea still had a whole notebook of things.
Yeah. Let's Chelsea. What's
it's
up?
not a ton of stuff.
Yeah. Let's
I
kick it
just-
off.
We all like stuff.
Jotted a couple things down. Something that's been coming up a lot lately. So I listened to, well, maybe I'll just talk about that. The availability of sobriety podcasts and things now has skyrocketed. I think especially, I mean, with podcasts and things trending and then with COVID happening, I know since COVID happened, like the number of speakers that they're just compiling, they're recording basically all their speaker meetings now are done on Zoom. So they're like, well, why not just record everything and make it available to everybody for free all over? So that has been a huge thing that I've implemented into my recovery in the last year or
I've
two.
got to see and hear some wonderful speakers that I'm not going to break anonymity, but famous people that I would have never got. No.
I never even knew half of them were in recovery.
Yeah.
Right. One of my favorite, I don't know if he's a favorite actor, but he's just a guy I really, really like. And he had 45 years and he talked about it and he was cool.
Yeah.
And it was, and he plays these rough characters on show. No, Machete. Yeah, and
he's done great with his life.
yeah, and just to see that he's nothing like his characters. Maybe he was at one point, but like he's just to see that and him talk about working with others and different stuff. That was crazy.
Yeah.
And there's lots of guys, and I think due to what you're talking about, we're opening the world
Oh yeah, for sure.
to recovery.
Yeah, it's become a lot more, I think, accessible as well as acceptable.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just look at the stigma on what addiction and alcoholism was when these fellowships were created versus now, it's a huge difference. Yeah, absolutely.
It's common now.
Yeah, being part of recovery, I think, is something that you can say proudly today. At least more so. Maybe I have that perception more so because I am somebody that's proud to be in recovery. But I think it's more accepted. And people, and part of that I would think is because help is available and people do have some faith that the help works. And that if alcoholics and addicts and people that need help from these 12-step programs or support and recovery or whatever, if we just reach out and get the help, that we can get better, right? It's not so much of a like we're just a lost cause and like a detriment to society anymore.
There's podcasts. There's even sitcoms about being in recovery.
Oh, Mom! Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah,
gosh,
that's what I was
like
thinking,
one
Mom.
of my favorite shows.
Like-
If you haven't watched Mom,
Uh-huh.
you should check it out. It's on
funny.
every night of the week.
Anna Faris
I don't know the mom's name.
but Anna Faris is in it. She's from
Yeah,
Scary
it's
Movie
great.
but
It's great. The whole family dynamic with recovery in the family and all that. It's good stuff. Great laughs. But so yeah, like just with the accessibility of all these podcasts and everything today, I've found that how many meetings I attend, and even with Zoom and with hybrid meetings and all that, how many meetings we attend, the way we attend meetings, the way we meet with other people in recovery, sponsees, all of that's changing. But something that has been coming up a lot lately is just the importance of a home group. Like what Dan was talking about earlier, the importance of pledging members and stuff. Pledging members have to be there to support, right? But having a home group, a place that we are known, that the people there know us, they get to, learn about our personality, what we're good at, how we can help the group, they can hold us accountable, all of those kinds of things. 'Cause I know for me, Leon too, like we like to get around. We like to go to meetings all over the place, and there's value to that. But if you don't ever stay in one place and you don't ever let people get to know you, especially if you're new in recovery, find a home group, find somewhere that you can put down some roots, and find people that you're going to see there continually every week that can learn about you. Otherwise, we don't have the accountability. Anybody else have experience with establishing a home group, if it's been beneficial or not?
Well, I mean, talk to people that are saying words that you're thinking. You know, I was broken. I wasn't trusting nobody. I was looking for excuses why this wouldn't work. But then somebody would say something that was like my experience, like they were there. And I was like, I thought I was the only one. I thought I was the only one that went through that thought like that as that happened. And this dude's like owning it. How can he even talk about that? Or she even. And like after the meeting, I mean, that's when the meeting really starts. You can get a phone number, you can have a conversation and learn from someone, you know? And that's really how I like got a knack for like the right words and the right times. I did a lot of working on myself. And like I know what it's like to fight through suicidal depression and like severe post-traumatic stress disorder for like months. And finding myself and what I'm afraid of, like loneliness is like the biggest thing. I want to do the opposite of those. You know, if I see someone chilling by themselves, I don't give a fuck how many people in the room. I want to talk to that person. Why are you here? You know, not necessarily, but sometimes, you know, you ain't got no friends up here, buddy. Like, what's going on? And put them under my wing at least for the night. But if I can get a phone number, I mean, so many people help me save my life, and like, I didn't even want it anymore. Right. You know, like here, Leon, here's a phone list. I was like, oh yeah, thanks, man. I was gonna get that after the meeting, actually. He's like, yeah, okay. Well, that's my name there. I circled it in red for you, you know. And he shoots me a wink. And I was like, you fuckhead. Like, why are you being nice to me? If you only knew what I went through, you know. You don't know me, and like, the whole love and caring was like foreign to me, and I hated it, you know. And now I know when I hate something, when I truly get aggravated by someone doing something, that's a reflection of what's going on with myself. I got a problem with that love, you know. I wasn't hugging people. My number? You want what? It was scary. And now I live by doing those scary things. You know, if I got a couple people in my life that can back me up, I mean, it all started with little weird conversations about crazy shit that I didn't want to tell nobody. The second I did, the more I do, the healthier my mind is. You know, you get that God peace, and you start getting lucky. Really, I mean, I'll try to talk to anybody anytime, and I don't know. It's unreal how much God works in my life. That's all I can say.
I want to kick back and answer Chelsea's question and start that conversation back up about the home group, beneficial or not. So, you know, and it took me, like I personally, it took me 18 months to find my people, because the first year and the first 18 months, like I'd see Leon and my friends, but they were all in the suburbs. I'd hang out with people like Dan Jones. I had people with 10, 20, 30 years, and while that was good for me, they weren't my own age. They did different stuff. They all had adult jobs and had money to go do stuff I couldn't afford to do. And sometimes they'd cover me for dinner, but that's neither here nor there. I found a group on Tuesday nights that was my home group. And it gave me accountability. I had a service position for 3.5 years there. That's more time than I have sobriety. And
Yeah, I think bringing up the service positions is hand in hand with that.
so now I stepped away from that home group after the 3 years there, because I felt that it was time for other people, and I felt that 3 years having a service position was long enough. And I got called back before the end of the summer to my home group. Dad, we know you're going to do other things on Tuesday, and you've been gone 2 months, and I know it's not the middle of the summer. We need you to come. We need you. We understand that you said you couldn't be treasurer because you're on the board. We need you to come in here, be treasurer, and you don't have to lead the group. We need you to kind of be the constant. We need you to do that, and that's okay. And that was an honor that people reach out to me to help them with the group, and that you don't have to share, you don't have to be the voice of reason. We just need you to sit in the room because it makes us feel better. And then you know, and we miss you, and you're a part of this group. Come back home, and that, you know, having that is cool. It's cool. So I don't always want to go to Tuesday nights, but I'll tell you what, when I was on COVID, and I wasn't able to get back to my meeting, and then I came here about 3 weeks after not being there, and I had to sit up at the front desk because there was no one there. I got to sit at the front desk. It felt more like I had to at the time. But I realized, damn, I'm not the same if I'm not at that meeting. And, you know, and I don't know. If you don't fit in a place, keep going because there's hundreds of meetings. We live in the Twin Cities, the #1 recovery community in the world. Minneapolis and St. Paul are the #1 area. More meetings, more recovery events than anywhere else in the world. So if you can't find a meeting out here, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Reach out. Call Leon. Call me. Ask Chelsea. We got meetings.
I always say in my meeting, this is Dan, I'm an alcoholic. We are spoiled in the metropolitan area. And if you can't find a meeting here, you don't want one. That's the honest truth.
Yeah.
And number 2, Chelsea, the home group is home is hence the word. And it's being at home and making a home in recovery. And the thing is there's a huge importance in that. And then when you go to other clubs, I used to bar hop. Well, now I meeting hop.
Right.
And I meeting hop the rest of my life.
Amen.
And the honest truth is my grandma told me something. She says, Dan, when you talk about uniqueness, they're talking about this thing that I think no one else can relate to, and that is the ism. But the honest truth is we are unique in many other ways. We're different, definitely. We are all different. And I want to say this, that everything is borrowed. Every note has been strung. Every word has been said. Every sentence has been portrayed. The honest truth is, if we truly borrow this material, we give it back in better shape than we borrowed it in, and that's the hence. And that's what I live by today. My grandma was an incredible woman. She really helped me look into things, especially my spirituality, and learned humility is essential. So, man, I just love it. I love you guys so much. I follow you guys, you know, I mean, every one of you. And I really appreciate what you're doing. Thank you.
Let's go.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. I'm going to ask you a question, Chelsea.
Go ahead.
Do you think it's important to go to an all women's meeting or all men's meeting for each, or do you think that's a case by case thing, like early on in recovery? What are your opinions about that?
I guess the answer would be I think it's case by case, but I would say it's important to be open-minded to the idea of trying it in the beginning. So I think that everybody should try, like all women should try going to a women's meeting. That is something that I know most women in recovery that have a strong tie or relationship or experience with a great women's meeting will swear up and down by it all day long. I'm not one of those women. I have really strong relationships with tons of women in recovery. I just don't happen to have a perfect experience with a quote women's meeting that I identified with. So I think that's just a term, you know, that goes along with our meeting types, open meetings, closed meetings, men, women, whatever. So I think the key thing with that would be open-minded to it. And then, you know, if it fits for you, it fits for you.
Right.
But having a variety in that, having a place where you feel safe, I think is the biggest thing with that. I think that's part of why we create men's and women's meetings so that we can, you know, go and not have that the opposite sex making us, you know, it feels like a safer place. But that, so finding a women's meeting is something that I've always had a desire for. Maybe because there is a little bit of a stigma that goes with it. You know, like, oh, if you're a good member of recovery and you're a woman and you have anything to offer, then you should attend a regular women's, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that's just a perceived idea. And since I've been in Minnesota, I've tried a couple. And I think the key there, like I said, is the open-mindedness. And I never found one that really fit me, that was great. So what do you know? God inspired my sponsor and I to start one at her house that we do every other week now, and we've been doing that
Son
for a
of
couple
God.
months. And it's going freaking fabulous. We get snacks, and we did a craft week, and you know, like, so it's working out great. So it's not a traditional, you know, like a formal women's meeting at an Alano club, but we're calling it a women's big book. We're the bad bitches in the big book is what,
Nice.
is what we call ourselves.
Fantastic.
So it's pretty good. So you know, like,
That's cool.
that's my experience with women's meetings. But I urge you to be open-minded and to try, yes. And like I said, I think the safety is the key there. I know for me, I'm just going to segue on this. For me, being in a relationship with a significant other in recovery, it's important for me to have some meetings where my significant other's not there for me to be able to share when he's not in the room. Sometimes.
Yeah.
And we just have an open communication about when that's needed. Sometimes they'll be like, hey, small group, like, you need to go to the other small group and I'll stay in this one, you know? And that just goes with that safety, that comfortability where I want to be able to feel vulnerable. And that's just up to me to go to different meetings if that's what I need. So hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that was actually a really good answer. Random thought. You know what I miss? We used to go to that coffee shop on Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like the five of us. I miss that. That was cool.
So, you know what?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what Dan was talking about earlier. The unity, and just how, like, the younger energy and just the energy in general, the, what's the word? Momentum that recovery can and does have right now, especially for us here in Minnesota, since the world turned upside down with COVID and with, what do they call that? Social distancing and isolation and all these things, right? So, like, we, as a recovery community, got to be a part of, like, some really crazy, awesome, cool stuff.
Yeah.
We were meeting in coffee shops, in people's backyards, and doing, like, crazy underground shit and having debates in Alano clubs and shutting shit down, and like it got really
Keeping
heated
stuff
and
open.
scary. You know what I mean? And like we were a part of all of that. And some of those meetings that we started during all that are now like blossoming and
Right.
great and like huge beacons of light in the recovery community, you know?
This show was founded on COVID.
That's exactly what I was just talking to somebody the other day. Was like when you guys came up with this idea of needing to reach people in recovery, regardless of what's going on, like that's exactly what it was about.
It was to reach addicts, to be helpful, and to have fun. Those are,
Yeah.
you know, those were the things. And I found my stride in COVID. Like a lot of people I knew stayed home and stuff. Like all of a sudden, I became a house leader, had to graduate treatment, had to figure out how I was going to make my way in the world. And COVID happened, and the riots happened. And, you know, and
And we leveled up.
yeah, I leveled up. And you know, that I found my way here at the Alano Club in COVID. I for a while, for the first couple months, I had to be here 40 hours a week. It was crazy. It was like a full-time job. I'd get here whenever the doors open, and then we'd have to wipe everything down. It was insane. And that was life for a little bit. And then we got more volunteers and more people stepped up. You know, thus is life. And I really, you know, that's not everyone's story. Not everyone found their way. Some people were stuck alone. Some people died. Some people went back out there after years of being clean. And we all know that person. Some people got COVID. And, you know, on that, before I forget, because I am going to forget, Jane, who does the Gratitude Cafe. Hey, man, if it's posted on Facebook, come check it out. It's Fridays at 5. And look, man, for $5, you're not going to get a better deal in town. It's a home cooked meal. But coming up, Jane's going to be getting 12 years. 12
Yes.
years. in March. So I just wanted, she's our number one fan. She's our number one listener. She's always supported me. Jane and I haven't always seen eye to eye, but she was my first recovery mother. And whether or not I've agreed with her, she was fighting. She's one of those people that fought for me. Well, I'm swatting her hand and she's telling me what's best for me, and we're arguing. She's up talking to other people and fighting for me. You're giving Tad too many commitments. She had my best interest, and whether I agree with the way she did, Jane has always shown me a level of love that I didn't get from other people, whether I agreed with it or not. And so I'm eternally grateful for Jane, and I don't know. We just have a cool relationship now. That's and that's something that this program gave me. Years ago, I wouldn't have been able to handle that. You're going to tell me you love me and fight for my rights, but you're going to disagree with me?
Right.
No, absolutely not. But that's not how it is anymore. What else do we want to talk about, guys?
I wish more people were commenting.
Yeah, you guys got any questions for us? Any topics you want to throw out there?
I've got a question.
Yeah.
I've got a question. So, can you think of a time in your recovery going from that shaking newcomer, right, where you're like, I want what they have? Can you think of a defining moment in your recovery when you felt that transition to where all of a sudden you're realizing that you're the person that the newcomers are saying, I want what you have?
Great question.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Or did it just transition slowly over time? I mean, what?
It still happens to me often. I think I know, and then I get shown, and then it's like, oh my God. Just the whole, I relapsed around 1 year, and I still had my house. I still had my townhome in Blaine. So I had a lot of parties, and like sober people would come over. We hooked up 2 Xboxes. We'd both play Grand Theft Auto 5 online in my living room on 2 TVs. And when I relapsed, like, I was, hiding behind my shade and all that. Well, then I got back into recovery, and it was on day 5 at the Blaine Elano there. And the chair just stepped down. She got a new job. And they needed a new chair. And I don't know what happened, but my arm went up. And, I was messed up last week. And then slowly the other guy's hands start going down. And they were like, I ain't running against Leon. Like, he's going to be our new chair. I'm voting for him. And then the other guy would be like, hey, we aren't supposed to say who we're voting for. Just put your hand down and be quiet, You, Mike, you, Brett. Like, why'd you guys you ain't running now? And he's like, no, man, Leon's back. Like, we need him. And I was looking at him like, what the hell's going on? And they were like, you were missed when you were gone. And if we can make you to be a chair, it would help you be accountable to be here every Friday. And it would help us. We miss you. We want you around. And I was like, I'm helpful. Like, people look forward to my life. And I was in a dark, dark, dark fog. And I didn't have a job. I didn't work my first year. I wasn't in a relationship for my first 2.5 years. I didn't even hold anybody's hand. But that piece right there, when they voted me chair on my 5th day, and I needed to get a key from a guy, it was huge. Just for me. I don't always think of the best for myself. But when people are putting their hands down saying, no, we're behind you. We know you can do this. We know you're capable of it. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck y'all are seeing, but I want some of that, And they do say, like, we'll see your growth before you do.
Yeah.
And I've felt that so many times in my life. It's just kept me grounded when I need it.
For me, for me, the bigger moment was when I actually believed myself that I had something worth offering. You know what I mean? And that came with sponsorship. When I was so scared to sponsor somebody because I didn't feel like I knew what I was doing and I didn't feel like I had anything to offer, but my sponsor told me I was going to fucking do it anyways. And she was going to walk me through it and it was going to be fine. And then, and I've been through that a couple shit show times, and I've been through more shit shows with those than, like they ended great, but it's like, but that's the point, is like the outcome is not the point, right? It's the journey, it's the process, it's the willingness.
Yeah, for right.
And so for me, like when I really felt that like the miracle of, you know, like feeling like, oh my gosh, like they want what I have and I actually have something to offer, came with sponsorship. Like when that really, when they're ready, almost to the point where they're ready to go sponsor somebody else, like then it was like, holy shit. And for me, when I teach something, I learn it better. So when I started teaching this book, and for me too, so it goes back to that whole thing with like, I don't always know what to say, right? I'm not that great with words when it comes to especially uncomfortable conversations or people's like marital issues or their drama and all that crap, right? I don't have the power to figure that shit out. I don't have the power to figure that shit out for myself, let alone 19 other bitches' problems. Okay? So like, but it's real, okay? So what I came to figure out was I don't have all that power, but I found a solution that does. Okay? And that solution for me is God. And this book, the literature that I have, teaches me how to teach it. So then, like, all I have to do is, like, go through what I learned with these other girls, and then all of a sudden I know how to teach it. And that gave me confidence to be able to share the solution that I had. And being able to share the solution is the point, because the solution's what's changed my life. So then we get all jacked. It's what, who was it? Was it Bill Dobson's wife? Or I can't remember, talking about his experience with God and how this whole thing works, is how he was just so freaking excited because God changed his life in ways that he just had to go out and tell people about it. Like he was just so damn excited he couldn't contain himself. You know what I mean? And that's the miracle of this program. That's how it works. So when I get so damn excited about this stupid fucking book that I have to go read the book with somebody else, like that's when the miracle. And I don't have to know what to say. I don't have to know what to say because I don't. They come at me with screenshots of their fights with their husbands. I don't know what to say, but I can say, have you talked to God with this about this at all?
I love that you said that, because my first time of like really getting to know you, instead of just knowing the lovely girl that's in all these pictures on Facebook with Leon, right? That I actually got to like know Chelsea the person. I don't remember who I was sitting with up at Blainbrook, and you were talking about a sponsee, and you're like, and she's going off about this, and I don't know what to tell her, so I just said, have you talked to God about it yet? So I love that that's your response.
Well, it's a pretty easy go-to response. It's like kind of a cop-out, but I mean, really, you got to do some things first before then we can get to a point where we can break it down,
If it's
right?
true, it's not necessarily a cop-out. Tim wanted to answer the question too.
Well, mine's kind of, it makes me kind of chuckle when I think about that, is I lived a life so long of lying and deceit and bullshit. And this one time, probably 2 years into recovery, I just felt like, you know, the first 2 years, I was doing what I was supposed to. I was working the steps with my sponsor, doing whatever I could service-wise. And something was going on with a couple adults. That's what I'll say, even though I was probably older than most of them. But people with substantial time, clean time, they included me in the conversation. There's 4 of them. These gentlemen, Bob and Rick, and I think Charles. Doesn't matter. But they're like, Tim, what do you, they asked me to, basically they wanted my opinion. And it was the first time in, I'd say probably 12, 15 years, an adult wanted my opinion. And they really respected what I was going to say. And they were all quiet. They looked at me, and they took my opinion to heart. And that was the first time in my recovery I felt like, wow, I'm a human. I felt part of the community again. Like, I don't know, it was, when you asked the question, that was the first thing I thought of. It was like, yeah, that was my moment when another man wanted to hear what I had to say, and it wasn't for the plug, it wasn't for this blind shit, it was really for what I had to offer. So yeah, rah rah.
Rah rah, that's Tim's new thing.
I noticed.
I'll talk. I'll touch on it real shortly, and then I'm going to get back to talking to some service stuff before we wrap up, because we can even go a tiny bit later. Yeah, it's almost that time. I don't know when it was, but I was doing a lot of service stuff. I was a house leader, and I was doing a lot of stuff up here. And it's not that people were ignoring me or whatever before. It was all of a sudden, if I had a shitty day and a shitty attitude, people copied me. People in the treatment centers thought that it was okay to behave like I was when I was not doing well. And I realized, oh, so now being president of squad, now these titles and things that were notches on my belt and for my ego at some point, they have a responsibility with them. And the fact that I do all this recovery stuff, if I show up shitty, other people think it's okay to show up shitty because Tad does.
Right.
And that's not okay. That's abuse of power. And this is just my opinion. So, and I still have to live with this today. I can show up shitty. I can sit on this show and preach one thing and go home and do another. And we all make mistakes. I'm not the guy who's going to tell you that every second of every day I'm perfect, because I'm not. I make mistakes. But realizing that, when I realized that my finances were in ruin last week, and what I've been doing for 2 months doubled my debt, and playing video games for 5 hours a night wasn't going to fix the solution. It just doubled my debt. And I had to make some phone calls, look for other work. I had to double down. I had to call other men and tell them what my issues were. And we talked about solution and recovery. And none of them said, you're a failure. None of them said, Tad, you're kicked out of recovery. You should step down from the board. You should step, because this is stuff I fear. You should step down from your podcast. You're a shitty human being. You know what? You're leading the flock. No one said that. They said, dude, you've leveled up. You need more in your life. You need to get back to your basics. You're not fucking up. There's some stuff going on. That's life. And you might be lost. We get lost. We get to get lost. We get to have friends, and we get to evolve, and different people. Maybe Leon helped me in the beginning, and maybe he'll help me tomorrow. But right now, this guy's helping me, and we get to do that. And I got some perspective. Ted, how often are you working one-on-one with other drug addicts and alcoholics? Because I bet you if you were working with sponsees, some of these things wouldn't be so prevalent. I bet you just picked up 2 sponsees. Okay, start fucking working with them. Start calling them every day if you're not. Reach out to 3 addicts. And, these are the solutions I get to have. And because I often think I get stagnant at some point, and I still have this creeping thought in my head that all of a sudden I'm going to arrive. I'm going to be at recovery. Recovery is a lifestyle. Attitude and gratitude, they're an action and they're a way of life. And I don't know. That's my little rant. What I want to say is, so as I sit in a room with 3 board members of 2218, 2 board members of Blaine Elano Club, multiple treasurers, multiple sponsors, multiple meeting chairs, service work. That's what we're talking about now. Service is a big part of all of our stuff. Let's just go, what's your favorite service position you've ever had? We'll each answer it. And what are ways that you balance self-care, personal life with service? Whoever wants.
I'm gonna just throw mine out real quick. So this is Chelsea. As far as actual positions go, I loved being GSR when I was a GSR. This was back in Texas. In the beginning of my recovery, I'd say I was probably about 18 months sober, and it was an experience, and it was difficult. And as far as self-care and balance and all that kind of stuff, I royally screwed all that up, and I didn't know how to find balance, but it was a super cool opportunity to understand on a little bit bigger of a scale how the whole concept of the fellowship works, the different levels, and just being more involved, basically being the liaison for my group to the area level, basically to say this is what's going on with my group. And I felt I had some accountability and everything. So like I said, it was kind of like a shit show of an experience, but it was vital in me playing like a part in holding a service position. So I loved when I was a GSR, and I've held other positions and I do other forms of service work, but that was a big one for me. It was a good experience. Huh. It was good.
My hands down, my favorite thing to do is speak.
Oh, it was so bad.
If I can go to a treatment center, a psych ward, in or outpatient service, that is my favorite way to reach out and make a positive effect on somebody.
You're one of those guys who tells their story well too.
And I've had so many like shades. I can go to so many levels, and it's fun developing like my own personal take, and like going back there reminds me of like how far I've come. But it's awesome to see like have somebody come out and tell me, I went to Waverly too. I've been divorced too. I've been cheated on too, and to be in a place where I can help them get up, like so many people help me. I've chaired a few meetings. I've been the door greeter. They never trusted me with coffee yet. I don't know how to make coffee.
No, you don't.
We just got confirmation from Chelsea. That's true.
But I love greeting. I love being chair. I love being like a face that someone could see, and like I don't know. Early on in Waverly, I got appointed. God, if you're gonna run, they're gonna call like 3 guys down and try to talk sense into you. The AMA, Against Medical Advice. So they call us down and we try to talk, sense into this kid, and we were successful every time. I think we had 4 or 5 calls, and that really stuck with me to like, I can make a difference potentially, with somebody else, and I've done so many things. I have a personal story how to relate to somebody, It's just been the funnest time of my life when I'm helping somebody else.
Thanks, Leon. I'm Dan. I'm an alcoholic.
Dan.
Dan.
It's short and sweet. And Leon does this naturally. He's an ultimate greeter. And that is my favorite thing.
How do you balance all your service positions with personal care?
This is a very good question.
I've seen you try and duck out of it.
Is a good one.
Attitudes run so wild. And the honest truth is, I remember one time I came into a meeting and I said, nobody is doing this. And Harvey said, with that thought, you just stop doing it. You got to live it and don't expect anybody to be doing it. Just live it to the best of your ability. It's the God of your understanding, and he works in us and through us. That's where it is not mine. It's something that we're freely giving. If I get an attitude about it, or even if I come in and say, God, life sucks. How many times do we hear that in these rooms?
Right.
And Harvey would look at me and he would say, life is life. I think your attitude sucks. Attitude is everything. And that's the honest truth, So how do I balance that? I just do what I know I can do, and then I leave the rest up to my Creator. The outcome of it I have nothing to do with, so I just try to do the best that I can do. And whatever the circumstance is, 9 times out of 10, I do like Chelsea does. I go to the book. The book has so much information in it, and it really helps us based on experience. This is experiences, not theory, not anything else. Absolute experiences of people working together. So even with the idea of having women's groups, you know what? It's all good, all of it. Honestly, it really is. And the thing is us working together, that's how we're going to really get through this. And what are we getting through? Nothing but life one day at a time, really. And it's simple. But it isn't easy because we run into self.
Thanks, Dan.
Nice. Hey, Dan, first time you said that to me, life is life and your attitude sucks, because he said it to me. I was so mad at you, dude.
Yeah. What if your day wasn't shitty? What if
Oh my God. I was
the
like
day
three,
had
I
shitty
was,
you?
I was 3 months sober, and I was in treatment complaining about everything. And I'm like, this fucking sucks. And he's like, this is this. And like, he spun it a different way for whatever we were talking about, but your attitude sucks. I think I walked away. I don't remember. Elena.
Yeah.
Favorite service position?
Oh, okay. That is not my favorite service position. My favorite service position is doing key tags at an NA meeting.
That's cute.
Because the best thing in a meeting is the recovery time.
Hell yeah.
That is the best thing in a meeting. I don't care. And I know that it has to do, I know a lot of people like it when people talk in meetings and when people share and stuff like that. But the best thing in a meeting for me is when somebody gets their 1 month or their 2 month or their 3 month and just seeing the look on their face and how proud they are of their accomplishment. That is right there is the best thing for me. So, and my biggest thing is people need to be quiet in a meeting during key time or key medallion time, key tag time, all of that, because that is like, to me, I mean, it might be a bad thing to say it like this, but like, if you're watching the Academy Awards, you're quiet when somebody's giving their speech. So when somebody's giving their speech about their medallion and their key tag and whatever else, you need to be quiet and you need to listen because that is their time. I mean, that is like coming from their heart about how they feel. And it doesn't matter how long it takes them to say it. It doesn't matter how little of time or how much they say or how little they say, whatever. It's coming from their heart. So yes, my favorite thing has always been, in every meeting, I'm always, even if I'm not the person that's in charge of doing the key tags, that is the part that I love the most.
So how do you balance service with personal care?
I don't.
Oh, is that why you flicked me off?
I don't.
That's not true. No, that's not true at all because I know when I know you struggle with it sometimes, do I.
So I have my moments. I have my moments because when it comes to service work, I am the type of person where I can be sitting at home having self-care, watching Sons of Anarchy with my dog underneath my heating blanket. But if I get a phone call from somebody that needs something, I'm out the door within 5 minutes. So it's really hard for me when it comes to taking care of myself and helping others because I'm big on helping others. Are there times where I could say, well, are you sure that you really need help? Are there times like that? Absolutely. Are there times that people cry wolf? Absolutely. I used to be one of those people. Do I need to find is it okay to say no in recovery? Yes. Do I need to start doing that? Yes. But apparently I don't do that yet. So there are still some things that I need to learn.
As we all do.
I'm a slow learner, and it's okay.
Fast forgetter.
It's okay. And it's not a big deal. I know that someday I'll figure it out. And if I don't figure it out, I will have my sponsor and my amazing friends in my circle that will keep reminding me, hey, what did you do for yourself today?
Heck yeah.
So it's okay. So yeah, I might talk about self-love and self-care and what I need to do for myself, but there's still a lot of things that I need to do for myself. I need to practice what I preach.
Heck yeah. Mandy, what's your favorite service position?
Okay, so for all the stuff that I've done, my favorite is being the person that gets to read Just for Today from the NA book. I got to know, so when my first meeting that I ever chaired, it just happened to be on the Just for Today night at Willwork, and so I got accustomed to doing that. However, even after that service position, and which I love chairing, I like that people still know me as that. So in other meetings, I'm like the Just for Today girl now.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's what I'm known for. So I really like that. And I love the moments when I feel personally attacked by whatever that day says on there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's totally calling me out. So I hold that near and dear to my heart.
I remember that time when you were up there with the other guy you chaired and you were telling me that story.
I was talking about how
did the book just attack me and you?
Yeah, it did. No, it was talking. Okay, so that one was great because it was saying that you want to act like you're an adult, but you're dressed like some kid from like the 90s, and you dress like a teenager when you're like 35 years old. I was wearing like this little skirt bib overall thing that I might as well have been, what are they called, like Dungaroos or whatever the heck, those little kids stuff from Walmart or something. I don't know what I don't know. Anyway, but I was dressed obnoxiously, and so was my co-chair. They always dressed obnoxiously too, and I was like, seriously, I just feel like the book attacked us. And he's like, I know, right? So no, I love that. I'm really excited for my new service position as well, as secretary for the board of trustees. I'm excited to see. Thank you. Thank you. I've been 2218 here, so I'm hoping that I'll be able to use a lot of my skills that I've used in other parts of my life, and on the board, so we can make some positive changes and help support our fellow addicts.
Get it, girl.
How do you balance service with personal care?
For me, because of my anal retentiveness, I have to make sure that I have set time to do stuff. I have to schedule in order to be able to find a balance. And when I don't do that, and I'm constantly flying by the seat of my pants, I find then I'm usually the scale's tipping in one direction or the other far too great.
Yeah.
So if I don't schedule it, I'm screwed.
I got the chills, Tim. That's what that is.
I hear
Matt, you
you
want to
on
get to the
that.
microphone? Matt. So Matt, what's your favorite service position?
Man, it's hard to say what it would be like, because like as people know, I chair the Friday meeting here at 2218. I work the front.
For what meeting? Friday, 22. What's
The
it
Phoenix
called?
meeting.
Oh, NA?
NA,
What's it
6:30
called?
to 8 p.m.
I heard all the
Which is
people
my home
who
group.
Found that meeting are awesome.
I'm also like I also do service work at the front desk on Thursday nights. But I think my favorite one right now is this podcast because it's something I get to do something different.
Yeah.
Big plug.
How do you balance service with personal care?
So the way I balance it is I just tend to I used to come up here every day of the week, and I became a face of 2218 like because I was known to wear my bandanas every day when I was in the summertime. Yeah. So like now that I've been working and about to graduate outpatient treatment at New Way, I've had to take some time off from coming up here every day of the week. So like my weekends are my self-care days, where I get to spend my time like just resting from work because I work overnights. That's the way I can balance treatment and work is doing overnights. So just finding my weekends to myself is the best way for me to balance.
Perfect. No, we started 5 minutes late. Ted, could you tell us in the audience what has been your favorite service position?
So, my home group, which is CMA Tuesdays at 7:00 here, for the 3 years I was the clean tag guy. When we don't have tags, we have chips, but I was the clean chip. Yeah, and so out of everything I've done, like I love the Ride for Recovery. I love being the president of Squad Council. I love being on the board. I love this podcast, but the clean tags, and that meeting used to be huge, and with hour and a half, and it was once a month. We'd do them, giving out those chips, and I am known for that in some circles, and it's because of the enthusiasm that I did it with. I was screaming. People get their 30 days, and if they didn't have now in some place, if they didn't have a presenter, I would present. So some nights I'd be presenting 20 people with key tags. What's greater than that? Giving 20 different people chips clean time. That's
Right.
freaking awesome. And then sometimes like my friends would come through, and one night, in addition to giving like 10, 15 people I didn't even know, I'd be like, hey, I'm Tad. This is Bill. We go way back, like I mentioned 2 minutes ago. Yeah. And here's the deal. I don't know a lot about you, but I know you're in this room and you got and I'd do that, and it just would jazz me up. And then I'd have these random days where I would get to give my friend 3. I had a night where I got to give my buddy 3 years, another buddy a year, another buddy 5, and another buddy 18 months. And I was like, what the heck?
You have to give me my 6 months. At
On
CMA.
that same night we're talking about.
Yep.
Yeah. And that was pretty cool. And then to hear afterwards, people are like, dude, that, what you said, and I don't, like what Leon was talking about, what you said when I got my 30-day trip and we didn't know each other, it changed me. And I'm like, oh, what did I say? But because I get in a trance and I don't know, and I just scream like, yeah, we got clean time in 30 days, and I'm just, that's my favorite thing to do by and far.
So then, how do you balance service with personal care? Oh, he gets up and walks away.
So this has always been a freaking struggle for me. I want to say like Elena, it's a cop out. I don't, but that's not true. Yeah, me, I want to cop out, or say, you know, whatever Chelsea and Leon said, that sounds good. Whatever Dan said, that sounds good. But you know, because this has been a struggle since day one. Dan knows this because there was a point where no personal care. Leon knows this. He's been my friend. There was a point, you know, at one point I was volunteering and doing service work and taking it so seriously, my hair was falling out. That was a thing. And I had to take a little break. And, you know, so anytime it gets that way, and I used to, man, I was so uptight, and I treated this recovery stuff, the Alamo Club stuff, like a job. And it served a purpose. It did. It kept me clean. And it helped people. But it's life or death. You've heard this speech, that speech. And so, you know what? Kind of relax, you know, realize that Tad deserves some time. The girlfriend wants some time with Tad. My friends want time with me. Right. And these are things that I fought my ass off to have. I fought my ass off to have a house to where I could do this. I fought my ass off to have a girlfriend, to have friends, more than one, that want to be with me, and they don't want to be my friends for dope or for whatever they can use me for. So now I have to make time. Relationships are hard, man. A relationship with myself is hard too. Hardest. It's harder.
We know.
Because, yeah, I'm a difficult guy, like Leon said. But so just realizing that I have to, and surrounding yourself with the right people, because the right people yesterday may not be the right people today. And you know, when you start having a conversation, if I have a conversation every day with Tim, me and Tim form a bond, and whether he knows it or not, to some level, we're going to co-sign each other's shit. To an extent. So I have to get other people to be like, Dad, you're fucking out of bounds. Come on, dude. You know, and I'm just grateful that this phone has a lot of people in there. And with, I don't know, I live a wonderful life. And it's always continuing and changing. I hope that answered it to some extent. I asked that question because it's a question I didn't want to answer at all. Favorite service position, Tim?
2 months into my recovery, I was at a meeting called Tradition 5, and they let me set up chairs. It was the first time I was given real responsibility in my life that I can remember, and it did a lot for me. I was important. I set up over 100 chairs, and those seats got filled, and I got to relish in this. At that time, it was ego. Like, they're comfortably sitting because of me. They got somewhere to sit because of me. Like, my head told me that shit, but at the end of the day, you know what it did? In retrospect, is I showed up early to that meeting every Monday for a whole year. I was there, never missed a day, and those chairs got set up. 5 squares over, 3 squares back. Boom, boom, boom. Nice. Make a row, 5 squares over, 3 squares back. My shit was on point. It gave me a purpose. Yeah. I'm being serious now. Like, above and beyond my ego and all this and that, I look back, it gave me a responsibility. It gave me some direction. It was as simple, like, you hear about emptying ashtrays or setting up, like, old timers, making coffee and cigarettes. And this gave me a purpose, and it did a lot for my recovery. And I grew through that meeting. Matter of fact, I met the girl I'm with now 4 years ago in that meeting. And it's like, because I showed up early, set up chairs, I started talking to people, making connections, wop-de-wop-de-woo, and rah-rah.
How to balance service with personal care, Tim.
At the beginning, there was none. There was
5
no
squares
balance.
over and 3
Like,
steps back.
there absolutely was no balance. And now it's just integrated itself together. The longer I'm in recovery, the more I can pick up how to do both. I have to. I've learned that. When I don't do personal care, my recovery starts falling off. When my recovery starts falling off, my personal care, it goes hand in hand. I've been able to kind of marry them together. I don't know how or when that happened, but it's just to me the question was stupid, and I couldn't figure it out until like the 5th person answered it, and I'm like, what does it even mean? And it's like I can't have one without the other nowadays. I was just real confused person trying to do both at one point, but now I just integrate them both.
Are you attacking my question? I'm just fucking with you.
I'm like, that makes no sense.
He's still learning to dance.
Oh, you know what the answer to the question is?
Yeah, life
5
is
squares over and 3 squares back.
That's what I said.
That's what she
Yeah,
said.
I know.
Isn't there like, take 2 steps forward?
That's the dance.
Yeah, that's what.
All I have to do is this shit. Oh,
So hey, 2218 is the world's oldest continuing running best Alamo club.
World,
yeah.
wide.
Hell yeah. There you go. Thanks, Leon. Hey, man, if you want to donate or, we're going to post the link. If you ever want to be on the show, have ideas for this show, please reach out to Tim or myself. Yeah, make it your show. If you ever have ideas about guests, you want to help, any of that stuff. What up?
Who's on next week?
Well, I'm glad you asked.
She took 3 steps over and 2 steps back.
Right. So speaking of who's on next week, JJ, our friend JJ, he has been wanting to be on the show for a year, and he's finally going to be on the show next week. So, yeah,
Couple surprise maybe guests.
Oh, wait, now, was that
Yeah.
JJ or JP?
JJ, he just is confusing the shit out of
JJP.
people.
That's good.
Okay.
Yeah. So, anyways, Tim loves to stir this pot. You know how that is. Back to that. Matt's gonna post a thing. He already did it. Matt, what are you grateful for today? And give us our quote, and then we're gonna do gratitude.
I'm grateful for this like my job right now because like it gives me more responsibility and purpose in my life to actually be working again after like 3-4 years of not having a job. So like the quote I chose for this week was live your life with no regrets. Bless the past and let it go. Because our past does not define who we are as a person. It's where we go on from there.
Good words.
Awesome sauce. Leon, what are you grateful for today?
My connections in this recovery. I mean, everything that I do and have done in the last 8 years, man, has brought me here. I'm really grateful that I didn't successfully kill myself back then.
That's right.
It's an awesome life to have these days, and I'm very glad that I lived long enough to see it.
Heck yeah. Chelsea, what are you grateful for today?
I'm grateful for the planet and my eyes to see it. Like the trees and the mountains and the waters and all that pretty stuff.
Wow. Stars and quasars.
Yeah. I like the nature. Grateful for that. But just that I have the eyes to see it. Like, that's it.
Thank you, Chelsea. Miss Mandy, what are you grateful for?
I gotta say that I'm grateful for my sponsors, both of them. That's where I'm at, and the rest of the network that I've found that has been able to provide support, including my wonderful boyfriend.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you like that? I threw that in there. Thanks. True though. Oh, and my wife Elena.
Okay, now I'm not going to interrupt.
Elena, what are you grateful for?
I'm
You gotta get
grateful.
to the microphone. That one hardly hears us.
You can hear me. Oh my gosh. I'm grateful that I saw my friend Leon and Chelsea tonight.
Whoop, whoop.
And again in the
Dan.
morning.
And again in the morning.
Dan, what are you grateful for?
I am grateful for this moment, and thank you, everyone. I am very grateful for my Creator and how He works in us and through us. It's just absolutely incredible watching this transpire, and being in the moment is probably very difficult. So I'm just going to say, love is the ultimate thing.
Tim, what are you grateful for? You've got to jump on me the last 2 times.
Dan J. I'm grateful for this man. The opening of this show and him sharing, I love listening to him speak. I love listening to him speak recovery. I have the utmost respect for him. I see him as my predecessor, and it's guys like that that I can truly be grateful for in this program. I'm grateful for family, and like Leon said, is connections. I shared about it 3 times tonight. It is getting me through life today, is making the connections that I've made and utilizing those connections. It's not just making them, you got to utilize them. And like I said, family. Ups and downs, man. Boundaries, mountains and stars and quasars and all that shit. It proves to me that there is a higher power out there. All these things we do and talk about and say and share. This podcast, my co-host, everything else. Tad, what are you grateful for?
Well, off surface value, which I mean by that is just today, right now. I'm grateful for my friends Chelsea and Leon being here. I'm grateful for everyone in this room. I am grateful that Dan Jones took the invite to come on anytime. I have an invite for all board members to come on anytime. You know, maybe I should ask them to message me for it, but that's my problem for just telling them to pop by. That's a Tad thing. That's not Dan's problem. That's not a Tim, Elena. It's fun. I think it keeps it fun. All the board members I just tell them that they're here. Come by, be on the show at your leisure. So and I've been saying that for a year, and Dan's only the second board member besides Wayne.
Matt came on. Mandy's been on.
Yeah.
Dan's on, and Cheryl and Scott. We are going to get them on.
Yeah. So, anyways, I love that. That's cool. Yesterday, I'm grateful that I went to Brian McKnight. That was pretty cool. I didn't talk about it.
What?
Yeah.
You didn't tag him in your post.
Yeah. And look, man, I'm gonna tell you, I've been to a lot of concerts. This guy sounds better live than he does on his records.
Dang.
So that we missed any time because
That's
we were
a bold
getting
statement.
popcorn, Tear, but we've seen a lot of other stuff. Oh no, for real, he sounded better in person. His high note, I couldn't believe it. So I'm grateful I got to do that with my lovely girlfriend. Mostly right now, I'm grateful that I have people in my life that when I fall short or I'm not up to par, that they have respect enough to give me an opportunity to correct it.
So you know what? I think it's about that time. I want to hear some final thoughts with Tad.
We're not even going to say bye to everyone first?
Are we doing that?
Well, I usually say bye to people, then we do final
We
thoughts,
let
but
people know they're
fuck
not
'em.
alone.
Fuck 'em.
We love them.
Oh, we do that on the end. No, I say, hey, Chelsea, Leon, you
All
guys
right.
got anything you guys want to
Peace
say?
out. Love everybody.
Hit me up.
Rah rah. Hit me up.
This rah-rah stuff.
My phone number is 763-238-5545.
Post it in the comment.
If you're struggling and you're looking for a direction, reach out to someone. If you're thinking about them, that's your sign to get a hold of them. Thanks for listening to me.
Thanks, Leon.
Dan, you got any final stuff?
Yes, definitely. Thank you, everyone. I hope, somebody got, something out of this, especially if somebody just happened to pop in and it's their first time. I just really want to welcome you and, come and check us out, even if you're in China, It's like, man, let's get together and we can really, make this thing absolutely blossom.
Right. Change the world.
So I definitely am very grateful and thank you. Bye.
Thank you for coming on, Dan.
Hey, if anyone here is ever struggling, you're not alone. You're loved. There's plenty of people on this show tonight around the world that will talk to you. Tim and my number, Leon's number's on
I
there.
posted it. Leon will
Reach out,
post his
man.
number on there. And anyone listening, if no one's told you today, I love you.
For real.
So,
And-
here. Oh, yeah, Dan.
My number is 612-267-6240.
Oh,
That's what's up.
so now I'm going to say goodbye to the fans, to the loyal listeners, to the still suffering addicts and alcoholics out there that
Are you
want
gonna
to.
give me some type of cool intro? Is that
Yeah,
what's
I'm
going on?
going. It's coming.
Okay.
It's coming. Because you are loved, as we said. You're never alone. You have to speak up when you're hurting because it's not rad. Because these are final thoughts with Tad.
Everyone always tries to throw me off my game. Final thoughts with Tad. It's real simple today. Who do you want to be? What do you want to be remembered by? Look, man, life's hard. Change is uncomfortable. But God puts people in our life for reasons that we don't get to understand until after. And sometimes, like I said, what worked yesterday and worked last year doesn't work anymore. I'm going to continue to pound this home. Life is hard. Change is uncomfortable. Keep moving up. We all level up, and we all get to level up. These aren't problems that I'm having, they're opportunities for growth. And as long as I stay in that and I stay in the solution, I'm going to succeed and I'm going to be happy. And it's not, oh, I fucked up or I didn't do this or I fell short. No, this is an opportunity for growth. It's an opportunity for change. Like I said, life is hard, change is uncomfortable. Let's live in the solution. I love all of you. We will see you next week. Everyone, everywhere, be kind to one another. I just stole Ellen's line. I don't know why I did that, but we'll check you out next week and have a great weekend. I'll see you next week.